Zach, take us into the Criterion Collection.
The Criterion I watched this week is a director that got nominated for an Oscar this year, and I say I'm an aficionado of his work, but I have quickly realized that I haven't seen as much of his work as I thought I did. And that filmmaker is Ramin Bahrani, and the Criterion I watched this week is Man Push Cart, which was just released by Criterion this past year. This was Bahrani's first major movie in the United States. And of course, by major, I don't mean, having Nicolas Cage in it. I mean, like, shown at festivals and maybe shown at art house theaters across the country if they were lucky. Man Push Cart is very much in the style of Chop Shop and Goodbye Solo. It's this kind of gritty look at the life of an immigrant named Ahmad, who's played in the movie by an actor named Ahmad Razvi. And he operates a push cart in Manhattan. And he's a Pakistani immigrant, but he speaks perfect English. And he seems fairly well adjusted to the United States. But of course, life is a struggle. He doesn't make that much money. We kind of slowly find out fragments about his past, which is a little bit checkered. He has a son. He has a wife who died. There's a very brief flashback. There's some friction between him and the wife's family because they have custody of their child. Over the course of the movie, Ahmad meets another pushcart operator whose name is Nomi. She is Spanish. She's played by Leticia DeLora. Like Chop Shop, there's not a whole lot of plot, I guess, in this movie. It's more just about the kind of day-to-day existence of this guy who, is pretty solemn. He's usually pretty solitary. There's a little bit of like latent racism and xenophobia in the movie, but it's more just about how, at 3 o'clock every morning, this guy has to go and pull this cart, across Lexington Avenue in Manhattan. And it seems like a really grueling, pretty horrible existence. Bahrani, though, is always so good at finding levity in these situations and showing characters who are downcast, but maybe still have some sort of remnants of optimism about them. And I think it's very much like a companion piece to Chop Shop, which kind of also was set in New York City, although it was set in the Bronx. The Criterion, the movie gets 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. What's interesting about the Criterion version, though, is it is the first film, but certainly not the last film, to be released with, as far as I can tell, a socially distant extra feature. There is a conversation between Ramin Bahrani and Ahmad Razvi and one of the assistant directors on the film, and they are socially distant from each other because it was shot in fall 2020. And that is a great segment because whether you like the movie or not, they talk quite a bit about the independent movie circuit in the early 2000s, how they really had to shoot this guerrilla style. Before, people like Sean Baker were using iPhones, but a lot of people didn't even realize they were in the movie because they were shooting in Manhattan, downtown Manhattan. And Ramin Bahrani had to learn how to use Final Cut Pro from YouTube clips. So, kudos to that. That's awesome. This is a really awesome movie. Ramin Bahrani, I still have not seen The White Tiger yet, but I'm a fan of his. I think he's a great filmmaker. And this is definitely, a really cool indie movie from the mid-2000s. It doesn't really feel dated in a lot of ways. It feels kind of timeless, very much in that kind of, 2000s Italian neorealist tradition that he was building on with later Chop Shop and Goodbye Solo. So cool movie, definitely worth checking out. Glad Criterion has been releasing his work, as they've also done with Chop Shop.
Yeah, that's Todd, a good one. That was back when he like his first 3 movies that he made, starting with this one, I guess, because I haven't seen his for his debut. But he was making really good movies with his first 3. He kind of fell off recently, starting with like the Zac Efron movie or whatever. But
and then Fahrenheit 451, which was by all accounts a disaster.
Yeah, that was bad too. But yeah, I mean, Man Push Cart is really cool. I just heard him on a podcast saying how he was inspired by Bicycle Thieves when he made this movie and stuff like that, and you could definitely tell this was right around the time I was first really getting into independent movies, and this was one of the ones I saw on the Spirit Awards. I was like, okay, I got to see that, and I sought it out as soon as I could.
Yeah, in the conversation, Ahmad Razvi says that there's a scene in the movie where he's pulling the cart, which he says was absolutely like the hardest thing he's ever had to do. And he falls over, and he had a choice of whether to fall into a moving cab or move into the cart and damage the cart. and maybe lose his life. And he says that his life flashed before his eyes, and he didn't speak to Ramin Bahrani for like a week after because he was so pissed off. It's kind of like that story about Uma Thurman and Quentin Tarantino on Kill Bill Volume 2 when she drove the car and crashed it. Like, there's some real shit that happens, with these movies that don't use CGI. So I guess there's something to be said for, really putting yourself out there on the indies, making an indie movie.
All right. I have not seen that one. I have not. I don't think I've seen any of Ramin Bahrani's films, which I should probably see soon. I need to see The White Tiger.
Me
All
too.
right.